All right, our top focus. Voting has come to a close in the Australian general elections. Anthony Albanese is set to return for a second term as the Prime Minister. Counting so far shows consistent trend towards Labour, with pre-election votes yet to be counted. Earlier, voters in bathing suits were seen casting their ballots at Sydney's Bondi Beach. Albanese, who leads the centre-left Labour Party, voted in his electorate of Grayndler in Sydney's inner west. Earlier, he visited the eastern states of Queensland, Victoria and Tasmania on Friday. While Peter Dutton, who leads an alliance of conservative parties called the Liberal National Coalition, also voted in the country's national election in Brisbane along with his family. Taking a shot at the Labour government, Dutton said that Australians were experiencing a bad government.
At the election booth. So I'm confident that Australians have seen through a bad government, and I'm confident that Australians can't afford 3 more years of what they've experienced. And there are a lot of families who are really doing it very tough at the moment, and Australians can't afford 3 more years of Labor. And our positive plan.
Both major parties have focused on cost of living pressures, but opinion polls show that global uncertainty driven by Trump's stop-start tariffs rapidly became a top issue for voters during the campaign. Labour has accused the Conservative coalition of mimicking US President Donald Trump by promising to slash more than 1 in 5 federal public sector jobs.
I think Labor will get a majority, and I think Australians, because of the compulsory voting, because of that tendency to vote towards the centre, will mean that Dutton and his attempt to appeal to the centre right and the further right, by using these kind of Trumpian dog whistle policies, is going to fail.
Many who don't have a strong preference still turn out to vote in order to avoid a fine, often not picking a contestant until election day. Dutton is confident that undecided voters would back his coalition. Both campaigns have focused on Australia's changing demographics by promising policy changes, including helping the first home buyers buy into a property market that is too expensive for many. Another point of difference is energy. The opposition has promised to build 7 government-funded nuclear power plants across Australia that would begin generating electricity from 2015. Labour plans to have 82% of Australia's energy grid powered by renewables, including solar and wind turbines by 2030, and to rely less on gas. The party has warned that Dutton's coalition would make massive cuts to services to pay for its nuclear ambitions. And well, for more on this, joining us on the broadcast is our correspondent Dasuni Athoda. She is joining us from Melbourne in Australia. Hi Dasuni, voting has closed in Australia at this point of time. What can you tell us? What is the latest?
Absolutely. Well, statistics have just come in, and it has now been confirmed that a Labour Party's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will return for his second successive term as Prime Minister. Now, all of these statistics indicate that there is no way for the Liberal Party, which is spearheaded by Peter Dutton, to form a government in Australia. This is quite an interesting way that Prime Minister Albanese becomes the first Prime Minister to win a second successive term here in Australia since 2004. So we're looking at more than 2 decades since something like this happened here in Australia. And also something that we just got to know is that Peter Dutton, who was spearheading the Liberals, has lost his seat in his electorate, which was now won by a member of the Labour Party.
Right, that's when you also talked to us about how much of the Trump factor played it out in the polls this time around, and what were some of the key issues that perhaps made Albanese win the elections according to the early predictions that we are getting.
Yes, well, definitely the Trump factor was something that went against the campaign of Peter Dutton, especially given the fact that his policies were quite similar to that of Trump. And at certain points of his campaign, he did use the slogan, "Make Australia Great Again" as well, which is quite in line with the policies and the slogans that were used by Trump. So that alone kind of portrayed him as of Australia, which is why I think a lot of voters, especially this time, considering the fact that there are a lot of young voters who headed to the polls this time, I think a lot of them did see this as a bad sign, especially given how things are turning in the West when it came to America. So certainly the Trump factor did work unfavorably when it came to Peter Dutton.
Right, Dasuni, thanks very much for joining us and getting us the latest.